Len Blake there with Lost in Comfort, who we are absolutely thrilled to have on the show today. Len, welcome to the Voices studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
How's your Thursday morning going so far?
Really, really good. We've just been discussing the weather. I feel better in every way.
Yeah, well, I actually have a weather-related question to ask you
God,
very
please.
shortly, which I know is like the most boring form of conversation,
No,
but I
that's
love
great.
talking about the weather. So, so obviously, as some people might be able to tell from your accent,
Yes.
you're not from around these parts, are
No.
you? So I guess like you moved to London. When was it that you moved here?
I moved 3 years ago now.
So, and I remember reading that it was sort of to be, I guess, closer to the sort of musical influences that inspired you growing up. So who was playing in the car when you were growing up?
Oh my goodness. I love this question. Our dad was really in charge, my sister and I, who works with me.
Mm-hmm.
Our dad was kind of in charge of our music education for the most part. We listened to a lot of all sorts actually, which I think is quite similar for a lot of people. Like we had a lot of Bob Marley and like the Fugees, a lot of Steely Dan, bit of Prefab Sprout, Teenage Fan Club, all sorts. And then we had like Corinne Bailey Ray and Vic Runga, who's an amazing New Zealand artist, and all sorts. And then like a lot of classical music too, to be fair.
A bit of Bach.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit of Mozart.
A bit of everything.
That's great. And I think from what you said about those artists that you just named, they've all got a real easygoingness to them, which I think you really permeates through your music. And to me, when I listen to it, why I would say it's so perfect that we've got you in on the spring equinox is that it feels summery. And one thing that I feel is like when the seasons change and stuff, I always feel a lot more relaxed in the summery seasons. And because that's so sort of apparent in your music, do you find that the seasons affects the way you make music, the way you write songs?
That's a great question, and I've never been asked that, but honestly, like I think it plays a big part in, even if you're not a musician or a writer, everyone's mood is so dependent on the weather, because some people are real winter people, like they love to sort of like hunker down and like be cozy, and then some people just like love summer like me. And I think totally I write now that I'm thinking about it, I actually do write about the weather quite often. And I think it totally dictates my mood.
But this year you've just skipped the winter.
I've been skipping the winters. I think this is my 7th summer in a row.
Oh, stop.
So I have nothing to complain about, nothing at all. I go back to New Zealand. I skip your winter.
I was going to say, like, maybe if you experience a British winter, you'll start writing like Nick Cave or something like that. So
I know.
Like,
maybe I'll have a really,
like,
really emo album of just like depression.
You know, if you ever hit a writer's block, maybe you could stay in England for winter and see what happens.
I think I need to suffer more, guys.
I know, honestly, avoid at all costs. And something else, I guess, like a theme of your music is like womanhood and identity. And I know that your sister is in the UK with you, which must be really nice. But in terms of sort of leaving, you know, that group in New Zealand, it seems as though you really found your people over here. But how was that sort of experience?
Yeah, I think anyone who's made a big trip like that or moved can definitely relate to that feeling of sort of leaving your people and then finding new people and then having people all over the world, which is really difficult. But it is really nice that, you know, you have people to travel to and, you know, you have to stay in touch with everyone. But yeah, I was really lucky to come with my sister, who's my mate. And actually a few of my friends came over as well. I think it was kind of a time in New Zealand where, you know, COVID had just happened and we were like, let's get out of here. And we wanted to all travel and do some like adventuring. And so we came over with a few of us, and then sort of people slowly peeled off. Some people were like, this is my place. Some people were like, get me home. So yeah, it's been really nice. I think that there's a really, really lovely music community here, which I've been very lucky to kind of, you know, be a part of now. And there's a really nice New Zealand, Australian sort of contingency here as well, which is cool. There's the Inward Bound group, who I have to shout out because they're such a cool group of New Zealanders, musicians, people in the industry, and, you know, going to events like that and going to people's gigs, you just meet so many people. So that's been really, really, really cool to have here.
Yeah,
it's a big place.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I think like you've worked with Jordan Rakai, which must have been amazing. And he's like someone that we've been playing on the show for years.
Yeah.
Did it feel quite sort of reassuring or almost settling to work with someone like that. And what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I'm such a fan, and it was so cool to work with him. I think that it was really comforting working with somebody who really understood where I came from, and obviously that informed the song that we wrote, which was a real kind of identity song about, you know, being mixed race and the Pacific, where my mum's from, and we've spent a lot of time in Tonga growing up, and you know, he's from the Cook, so he completely understood that Pacific identity, which was so cool because it is hard here sometimes being far away from the sea.
You're not that far. You're only about an hour.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's
not quite the same.
I feel like I'm interrupting coming
no,
into
I know,
this.
I'm actually like, we're just going to natter for the next hour. Let's listen to
on the subject of islander culture and all this. This next song that we're going to play is you sing it in Maori.
Yes, yeah.
So can you pronounce it for me?
Yes,
again?
it's called Te Piringa.
Te Piringa. And why did you write this one in native language?
So in New Zealand, in Aotearoa, they've been really advocating for more music in Te Reo Māori, which is so cool, and more language, more Te Reo Māori in general. And so they've been getting artists from New Zealand to write songs in Te Reo and like translate their songs and, you know, re-release them, which is so cool. So this was one of them, and I actually wrote it over here, and the producer that worked on my first EP with me, he translated it because he speaks Te Reo Māori. And so we kind of did it by distance, and then they made this really cool little mini documentary about the process, and we worked with Ngāti Rānana, who are the kapahaka group based in London, who choreographed like a beautiful dance to it, and so we all sang it together, which was really beautiful. But yeah, Te Piringa is about the word Te Piringa means sort of reunion, and it's about that yearning for the people that you love, like similar to what we were just talking about. Yeah, so it's kind of about that coming together. And
yeah, thank you so much for coming to the studio, and I promise to interrupt less.
No, fine.
The next one. We're here with Len Blake on voices. Let's pretend I'm just leaning across people.
Len, I have a question now that I'm just going to come out with because I don't know how to like secretary it in an interesting way, but we were having a chat just before we came on the show and speaking about beautiful New Zealand, and I'm from up north, I'm from Doncaster, and we got chatting about how you went to Hull, and you're like, I absolutely loved it, so please, I want to know about your 12 hours in Hull that you spent recording.
It was epic. I really loved Hull.
What did you get up to?
I went and actually mixed and revocaled the track Lost in Comfort, which we played earlier, with James Kenosha and his beautiful studio. Nice. And I was so excited. I could have woke up early and went to Hull for the day.
So fun.
And I'm obsessed with the fact that the slogan is one Hull of a place.
Oh, see, that's so good. I didn't
real.
know that. Yeah, that's real.
That's real.
Realness from Hull. So it was a city of culture a few years ago, wasn't it? So
that was like 10 years ago now.
James, oh God, that makes me feel really old. Big up Bradford, city of culture this year as well, while we're speaking about the north.
We love them.
So then I was going to ask you about fashion.
Oh, yes.
So we'll just move into that.
The centre of global fashion, Hull.
Easy segue.
Humberside, that real classic.
I know that you have a big love of fashion. It's a big part of your sort of identity, and it flows into your music. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I love I love combining the music project with fashion, and I think probably it came from my mum teaching me how to sew when I was younger. Her mum also taught her how to sew. We're quite crafty.
That's so
we
nice.
like knitting and embroidery, and so I think probably just through like designing, we used to design our ball dresses, and our mum used to make us our like school dance dresses, and that process was so fun because you could just pick whatever you wanted and go to the fabric store. And I think then I became obsessed with the fabric store and just like going in and looking at the different textiles, and it's a real hobby of mine. Yeah,
that's really nice. I feel as though I don't know how to say particularly, but I bought these shoes from this brand that I couldn't usually afford anything for, but the shoes were quite cheap, and they came in a dust bag with the Wales Bonner. It had the brand on it. Yeah, no. So I was like, I'm gonna turn the dust bag into a bag because I can't afford a bag from Wales Bonner.
That's crafty.
And my grandma's like a really brilliant sewer, and so we spent a day like going to the fabric store and buying it, and then she showed me the patterns, and it's obviously a slow process, but it feels quite meditative almost. I think
it's so rewarding, and it's like, obviously, like, slow fashion is great, upcycling is great. That's wonderful. And I also think that I love, you know, creating a cool live set, and I think part of that is making something that you feel really confident in, and you want to entertain people, and that can come through what you're wearing as well. And the process of creating that outfit, depending on what the vibe of the show is, or whether you're playing a festival, maybe it's sort of, I just played some summer shows in New Zealand, and we had a really kind of summery, relaxed festival. So I wanted to make a dress that kind of reflected that, so that it could all be a part of the experience for the audience, which is super fun.
Yeah, that's great.
So I've got two things from this. Yeah. I've heard that some people come to your shows not knowing your music.
Yeah, some people come to the shows because they want to see what I'm gonna wear, because I make little videos of me making the outfit. They don't care about the music. They're just like, but what's the dress? I think that's fun because it's tapped into a different group of people, and like, I honestly, the crafty girls on Instagram are like the best. They are so wholesome, and you know, they love asking questions like, what pattern did you use, where you're getting your fabric from, and it's actually sparked so many really nice conversations with other sort of creative people online, which is really fun. And yeah, I did a show in London last year, and the girls are like, we actually don't really know your music, but we wanted to see how the dress turned out, because I think I mentioned that I was making a dress in like 24 hours before the show. So there you go.
There you go.
You can come for the songs or just for clothes.
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
Just to look.
So the other one,
admire the dress.
Yeah, earplugs strong, not just for protection.
Hate the music, but
the dress is great.
My follow-up to that is their different vibe, but also makes all their own outfits. Favourite of the show, Lynx.
Oh yeah,
you've got to check out Lynx.
Okay,
they're
amazing
queer techno pop artists.
Amazing,
different vibe. Makes all their own outfits.
Awesome,
really fun.
I have to check
a little
really
crafty
good
collab. I have no idea how that would turn out. You are
there you go.
Opposite vibes.
Do you know what though? You're because I think you made like sort of inspired by like a Chipova Luena skirt, which is like really plaiddy.
You're looking at me.
And like know. You know what plaid is? Like plaiddy and pleaty, which is very Lynxy. I think Lynx takes a lot of cues from like Charles Jeffrey and Westwood and that sort of thing.
Totally.
And when I was looking at that skirt, it felt very, sort of London Westwood back in the day inspired to me. It felt very like Britishy. But then when I see you in New Zealand and you're in these gorgeous like dresses and stuff, do you find that again like you're sort of inspired fashion wise by where you are, or do you sort of feel like you've got your own style and that doesn't change?
No, totally. I think I've been influenced from my time in London in so many different ways. Definitely music, and style as well. I love how everyone dresses here, and there's also such an exciting like prospect of anonymity when you come over to the other side of the world. You don't know anyone. You're never going to bump into anyone. So you know, it is a bit of a cliche, like recreating yourself, but people do come over and then feel sort of confident to wear whatever they want, or maybe things that they were nervous about wearing back home when you've grown up with all the same people. So I think that was very liberating, and just like being a bit more brave with it. I think people are braver here.
No, definitely. Sometimes like if I've got something a little bit like out there that I'm a bit scared to wear back home, I think, oh, I'll wear it in London. Yeah, because you just do have that like, you know, small finish in a big pond sort of anonymity that's really nice.
Yeah. And then you bring the styles back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, looking towards the future, you've got 2 singles coming out over the spring called Freckles and Alone.
Yes.
Is there anything that you can tell us about those?
Yes, I'm very excited about both of these songs, and I think, they're kind of different vibes. Freckles is very sort of summery, kind of like a crush kind of song. Very dreamy, and again we made it in New Zealand over the summer, and like you can't help but embody that sort of mindset when, I guess it's weather dependent, like you said. And then Alone is kind of a bit of a sad girl sort of. There's a lot of tension in this track, and it's that sort of breakup music.
We love
we
a
all
sad girl
love.
summer track too, though, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm very, very excited to share.
Amazing. Well, we cannot wait to hear those on the show. We're going to play one of your other tracks to close out the chat.
Yeah, you didn't bring us the newness.
I know.
Well, damn.
Hey,
No,
time.
you know,
We're working on
next
it.
time, next time when they're ready.
Yeah.
You can't get them when they're not quite ready.
Totally.
This one's a much older one, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. This was rich, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, well, let's have a listen to this. Len, thank you so much for coming on the show, and all the best with those new releases.
And you've shared some good stuff with us. I've got a track to share with you.